Hello students, in this presentation I am going to discuss about the various methods used for the conservation of water and reuse of water. As we all know that in nowadays most of the countries are facing the shortage of the water, and water scarcity is a major concern these days. In India, the major cities like Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi are on the verge of losing the water, and there is a very high chances that the water is not sufficient to satisfy the demand of future generation. It is getting depleted, and water table getting down day by day, and there is a future generation may face a very severe shortage of water. So we should have to conserve the water as far as possible. There are some steps which we should have to follow in order to conserve the water. Some simple and basic ways to prevent the water is we should have to turn off the taps when it is not in used, and we should have to take short showers, and better to take a bath with the help of bucket. In this way the minimum amount of water is used, and we should have to do some techniques to store rainwater in the form of rainwater harvesting or some other methods we should have to adopt. Now, the water conservation means the careful and economical use of the water. The careful and economical use of the water it includes the various policies, strategies and activities which are done in order to conserve the natural resource of the water to satisfy the demands of the future generation. The methods which should be used to conserve the water are afforestation. Afforestation means we should have to plant more trees. So by doing this, the water in the soil is easily penetrated, and as a result of which the water table gets raised. So afforestation is the one step, is a one method in which the water can be conserved. Another methods are we should have to decrease the runoff, and we should have to focus on the various cultivation techniques like contour cultivation, step farming, water spreading. So all these are the essential steps in order to prevent the loss of the water. Contour cultivation is carried out by making the furrows and the ridges. Furrows and ridges are the partitions which farmers normally made in the agricultural field, which prevents the evaporation loss. And also when the water moves through the agricultural field, then most of the water gets penetrated into the soil, so huge loss occur. So if we make furrows and ridges, that is the partition in the agricultural field, then some amount of the loss can be minimized. We should have to make the water storage structures like farm ponds, dug wells. Now, rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is a very important and useful technique for the conservation of water. It is clearly seen in the figure that the rainwater which is sweeping from the rooftop are allowed to stored in the main tank. The water which is coming from the rooftop of the houses are allowed to pass through the filter to remove the major impurities like soil, dust, etc. Then the water which is free from the major impurities are stored in the main tank, and from here main tank, with the help of pump, it is used for different purposes like gardening, toilet flushing, washing of car and clothes. When the water which is overflowed from the main tank, then this water are allowed to pass through the well, from where it is penetrated into the ground, which helps in raising the water table. So these are the some important techniques for rainwater harvesting, and you should have to remember all these points. Now, most of the water can be conserved with the help of proper irrigation. If we use proper techniques of irrigation, then large amount of water can be conserved. The important technique which is applied in the field of irrigation is sprinkler irrigation and drip irrigation. Sprinkler irrigation is very useful if the land is uneven and where the water supply is difficult. So the fountains are arranged in a particular pattern, or the sprinklers are arranged in a particular pattern. Another technique of irrigation is the drip irrigation, and in this technique the water is directly supplied to the roots of the plants. The water is directly supplied to the roots of the plant. By doing this, the large amount of the water can be conserved. So I am also sharing a video based on the technique of drip irrigation. Please watch it.
Start by connecting the power lock flush valve to one end of your polyethylene tubing. Remove the cap until after you have flushed the line in step 13. Beginning at the flush valve, use wire staples to fasten the black tubing across the supply end of your caterpillar tunnel. This is your header line. Next, cut the supply end of your header line approximately 3 inches narrower than the width of your tunnel or other growing space. Then, connect the power lock 90-degree elbow to the supply end of your header line. Attach the remaining piece of polyethylene tubing to the power lock elbow. You can cut this shorter to fit your needs. Next, connect the filter and valve assembly to the polyethylene tubing with the power lock adapter. Using the included plastic punch, make holes in the header line at your desired spacing. We suggest punching 3 lines per 30-inch bed at approximately 5, 15, and 25 inches. Next, push a drip tape valve into each hole. You'll want to make sure that the black and blue collars are both screwed all the way toward the valve. You should also hear a popping sound when it's fully seated in the tubing. Then, tighten the black collar onto the header line. Now roll out the drip tape for each line and attach it to the drip tape shutoff valve. Be sure the drip emitters are facing up. If you're working alone, we suggest setting the drip tape roll on a piece of pipe or rebar between 2 cement blocks. Return to the far end of the bed, pull the drip tape snug, and cut to length. Repeat this process for each drip line. Then connect your water supply to the filter and valve assembly. Now let's flush the system to remove any dirt or debris. First, we'll close all the drip tape valves and allow the water to flush out of the header line. Next, screw the cap on the end of the power lock flush valve from step 1. Then, open one drip tape valve at a time until water comes out the far end of the drip tape. Then close the valve. Repeat this until all drip lines have been flushed. Finally, attach a drip tape flush valve to the end of each drip line. Your assembly is now complete. Thank you for choosing the Farmer's.
Now come to the reuse of water. The water which is used once can be reused again for other different types of purposes. Likewise, for urban uses, agricultural uses, recreational uses, environmental and industrial uses. In urban category, water can be used for the irrigation of the public parks, private gardens, roadside areas, vehicle washing, etc. In agricultural uses, water is supplied for various types of food crops, ornamental flowers, and other various types of fruits and vegetable plants. In recreational field, recreational uses means the activity which is done for the sake of enjoyment. The water can be supplied for the irrigation of golf course. Golf course is a very large area, so lot of water is required there. And in environmental uses, it is used for the recharge of aquifer. Aquifer is a rock chamber which is present, which holds the water. And in industrial uses, water is used for as a cooling purpose and for washing down aggregates. Most of the countries have suffered severe shortage of water. Like countries in the Middle East, they are using the technique of desalination. That is, they are converting the seawater into the fresh water. But this technique is very costly, and it can't be used, and it can't fulfill the demand completely. But somehow the developed countries like Dubai, Saudi Arab, and some other Middle East countries are using this technique to convert the salty water into fresh water. So this is all about the conservation and reuse of water. Thank you.